Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Whit Irvin Jr., CEO of Q Hydrogen, to discuss trends in the renewable energy market and the role hydrogen plays. Whit, it's great to meet with you. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill. Great to be here.
Can you give me an overview of the renewable energy market as it stands today?
So currently, about 30% of the electricity we use globally is through renewable sources. So we're talking hydroelectric, wind, solar, in that order as far as the large players. And then you have others like biomass, biofuels, geothermal that kind of make up the rest of that renewable energy mix. Renewables are becoming more and more important as far as electric production is concerned. Utilities are shifting away from things like coal, natural gas, nuclear, mostly because of environmental needs and also the consumer push to move toward cleaner alternatives for production of electricity.
And Whit, what role do you see hydrogen playing in the next 1 to 5 years?
So currently hydrogen is really being used mostly in places like ammonia production, so for fertilizers, chemicals. We're starting to see some of it going into the realm of the consumer side with hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, energy storage. But I see as the price of hydrogen continues to decrease, hydrogen will become more of a base load energy player, is my belief. So right now there are a few different methods to produce it. You have your gray hydrogen, which is essentially using a hydrocarbon like natural gas to produce it. It's the cheapest method, but it's also environmentally the worst. And then you have blue hydrogen, which is essentially the same thing as gray, but they're doing some carbon capture. So you can take that carbon, put it into a large, usually underground formation. It's better for the environment. And then you have green hydrogen, which is essentially the cleanest method, but requires solar or wind in order to create that electrolysis process to get the hydrogen out of water.
Well, Whit, why isn't everyone using green hydrogen if it has the lowest carbon footprint?
A lot of it comes down to cost because electrolysis is a very energy intensive process. It's a heat reaction. It's essentially an electrochemical process where you're taking water and taking the hydrogen and oxygen out via a tremendous amount of heat. In order to get that heat, you need a lot of electricity. And in order to get that electricity and call it green, you have to have a green method to get there. So we're talking massive amounts of solar, massive amounts of wind, and at $1 million a megawatt roughly for these technologies, costs are still very high.
And what would make hydrogen a more viable player in the market?
Really, it comes down to technological advances. When you're talking about current costs are coming down. There are some iterative changes occurring technologically speaking, where we're seeing some gains in electrolyzers or PEM cells, et cetera. But you really need a true shift to get to that next level. And when you look at various market reports, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch rebaselined essentially what they see hydrogen going to in the future from something that was several $100 billion market-wise to $12 trillion by 2050. So they obviously see something coming down the road, and that's part of what we're doing. So my company is actually in that realm. We've developed a new technology that's been part of our portfolio now for about 25 years, and we're going to be opening a power plant in New Hampshire later this year to unveil this breakthrough in hydrogen production.
So what do you think it's viable? It's realistic for hydrogen to come more on board in the next 1 to 5 years?
Oh, I definitely do. I see, especially with some of the shifts we've had politically in our country and people's push toward renewables and whether it's right or not, people pushing away from nuclear, I think hydrogen is going to become a major player very quickly, and I hope that we are a big part of that shift.
All right, Whit, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.